Over the last year, since I bought my PlayStation 5, I have been aiming to play as many of the PlayStation exclusive games and achieve their platinums, because unfortunately I have only ever had an Xbox before that, and you all know how good their exclusives are. Anyway, one game that I always had my eye on was Days Gone, a super underrated game. So in this video, not only will I be showing you the platinum experience for this game, but also achieving the grind that is the 100% for the DLC trophies as well. But first thing to do is to focus on the platinum, and the guide gives it a 4 out of 10 difficulty and takes around 60 hours to complete. There are 46 trophies to obtain, and stage 1 involves completing the main story whilst looting enemies and completing most of the side activities. So I loaded up the game, ended up choosing the normal difficulty, but later on for a new game plus I do have to play the game on the hardest difficulty anyway. But straight after that I was loaded right into the action, where I was introduced to the main playable character Deacon St. John, his wife Sarah, and also his best friend Boozer. The zombie apocalypse has just gone down, and unfortunately Sarah has a knife wound. They end up finding a helicopter that is flying away to safety, so Deacon tries to get her on it to try and save her life. In the end, the neuroscientist O'Brien allows her on, but there's only got room for one more, and so Deacon ends up staying with Boozer and finding out the location of where the helicopter is going. And this leads straight into a title card. We then get a 2-year later jump cut where it shows Deacon and Boozer still alive and kicking, and they are hunting down a guy called Leon who stole some medical supplies from a nearby camp. Deacon forces the location of the stash out of him and puts him out of his misery. And funnily enough, the map that he gives us to show where the stash is actually granted me my first trophy, Finders Keepers, for collecting my first collectible. Upon returning to their bikes though, Deacon finds that his fuel pump has been shot out, so him and Boozer must go scavenge for a new one, so Deacon hides his bike nearby and they head off. The two head to a nearby garage called Crazy Willie's, and here I crafted my first Molotov and took out my first Freaker Nest. And this is one of the storylines or side activities that you have to complete throughout the game, and I have to complete all of them by the time we get to the end of the game, so this was the first of many. Once inside the garage, Deacon just perfectly happens to find a working fuel pump on a bike, but in the meantime Boozer calls in and is getting attacked by some Rippers, so we rush outside to help him. The Rippers are a cult full of crazy people who are trying to become more like the zombies or freaks themselves, and they end up burning Boozer's arms before we are able to take them out, and the result is that he's got 3 third-degree burns all the way up his arm. And so from that I got my second trophy, just a flesh wound for getting out of Crazy Willie's. From there, Deacon takes Boozer back to the safe house so he can rest his arm, and Deacon heads off looking for his bike. Along the way though, Deacon finds a nearby marauder camp that is planning on attacking their safe house, so of course I take them all out, and this is one of many marauder camps that I had to complete for a trophy later on. Of course, once Deacon gets back to where his bike was, it has already been taken, but he sees someone off in the distance and decides to chase after them. And we chase him all the way back to Copeland's camp, which is one of the few survivor camps that can be found on the map. Turns out they're the ones that found Deacon's bike, ended up taking it back to be stripped for parts, so of course they owe Deacon a new bike now. And so we end up getting a crappy old bike, which gives us plenty of room to upgrade it to make it better, of course. So I was able to explore the camp a bit after that, where I was introduced to the mechanic, which obviously you can upgrade your bike. I also visited the merchant, where you can buy new weapons and ammo and supplies from them, along with the bounties, where you can turn in freaker ears, which you get from killing zombies, and you can get credits so you can spend them. And then also the kitchen as well, where you can turn in plants or meat in order to get credits as well. And I actually ended up getting my third trophy, Kitchen Courier, for selling animal meat or plants to any encampment. From there, I headed to a nearby Nero checkpoint in order to search for some medical supplies in order to help with Boozer's arm, but while I was here I realized I had a skill point lying around, and so I spent that on my first skill, gaining another trophy. After that, I ended up getting this generator working in order to get inside the Nero building, and this is another one of those side activities where you have to complete all of these Nero checkpoints in order to get a trophy later on. Along with finding medical supplies for Boozer, I also found my first Nero injector, which helps you increase your health, stamina, or focus, and by increasing one of these, I got my 5th trophy.
Here goes nothing.
Better living through chemistry, upgraded your health, stamina, or focus for the first time. After returning the bandages back to Boozer, I then got tasked with taking out a nearby ambush camp, which are very similar to the Marauder camps, but they are different in the fact that they're called an ambush camp and you have to take out all of these as well as another side activity. The good thing about these camps is that they have bunkers where you can find a map which reveals the surrounding location on your map, showing you where certain collectibles and other side activities are. Continuing on from there, Deacon finally goes after the stash of drugs that Leon hid, and here we actually get a massive surprise where we see a helicopter flying around in the air, which definitely does not fit in with the apocalypse. Of course, Deacon has to know what that's all about, so he chases after the helicopter and finds a Nero research team at its landing site. Their armor does not allow us to kill them, so instead we end up listening in on the main Nero scientist who is researching the Freakers, and there are quite a few of these missions throughout the main story. You pretty much just gotta tail the scientists and eavesdrop on them. After listening in, Deacon runs away and I got the trophy, The Ends and the Means, for discovering what happened to Nero. I then went on to tackle my first bounty job, and you get these from the different camps around the world, and this one was from Copeland's camp. I then went on to complete another one of the Nero checkpoints where I got my first encounter with a horde, and goddamn these things are scary. Freakers just come out of nowhere, you get surrounded, you pretty much will die instantly, and luckily I escaped with literally no health this first time around. Later on in this video there will be a few trophies related to the hordes as well. I then headed back to the camp where I purchased my first motorbike upgrade, which was just a decal, but I still got the trophy first time buyer. I then got the trophy Farewell Original for purchasing an upgrade under the performance, visual and paint categories for your bike. I then rode out to the Hot Springs encampment where I met Alkai and Tucker. Tucker then takes us on a golf cart buggy ride where she tells us she needs us to bring her back survivors to work at her camp and we'll get credits in return. I then got the choice to take the drug stash that Leon had either to Copeland or Tucker here. I ended up choosing Copeland as I wanted to upgrade my bike more. Now is a good time to mention as well that by completing jobs at the different camps you increase your trust level with them, and the max is level 3 and there's a trophy related to doing this for 3 different camps. But for now I took the drug stash back to Copeland and got the trophy Special Delivery for making a delivery to Tucker or Copeland. Now this had been hinted at throughout the start of the story as Sarah wasn't, like, where was she? But it's revealed that Deacon and Boozer believe she's dead, as when they went to the camp where the helicopter went, it was overrun by freakers already, so they just assumed that she died. After visiting her memorial stone, Deacon finds another helicopter, so he follows it, and they have to rush off after some freakers attack them, and they leave behind a radio, so now Deacon is able to listen in on their conversations. You then also get a nice little flashback here showing how Sarah and Deacon met, and there's a few of these flashbacks throughout the game, pretty much just showing how they fell in love. After that, Deacon then tracked down this girl here named Lisa, who is living out here by herself, somehow surviving the last 2 years, and he wants to take her back to Tucker's camp for some credits, and he believes that she would be safe there. Previously, he also heard the name O'Brien from one of the researchers, and he is the guy that put Sarah onto the helicopter at the start of the game. So he heads there to the next location to confront O'Brien and see if he knows anything about where Sarah is. Of course he doesn't, but he says that he will help us because Deacon pretty much threatens him to, and because it turns out that they were actually diverted to another camp, so there's a chance she's still alive, as O'Brien also saved her from her knife cut. After that, he then has to go save Lisa, the girl that he saved earlier, from the Rippers, as they have captured her while she was on a supply run. Luckily, she's still alive, but she's being cut up pretty badly, so they make their way back to Deacon's bike, but Deacon does not take her back to the other camp as she absolutely hated it there, so instead, he takes her to this girl called Ricky, who is from another camp down south. After that, Deacon heads back to the safe house for some rest, where it's just shown that Boozer is going crazy because of the infection in his arm, so they have to do something about it. So Deacon decides to take him down south to that camp where Ricky is from, the Lost Lake camp, but it turns out they're kind of banned from it as they left it in bad terms as they'd previously been there. And for making this drive, I got the trophy Lost and Found for driving south with Boozer. From there, Deacon decides he's going to sneak into the camp to get some medical supplies, as obviously they are banned from it, so he heads inside. But of course, he is found out by Ricky and her girlfriend Addie. But once they find out about Boozer's situation, Addie, who is the nurse of the camp, she needs to help him out, so they allow them to stay while he heals. And so Ricky takes Deacon to meet with the leader of the camp, Iron Mike, and his second in command, Skizzo. After some arguing, they agree to let Deacon and Boozer stay as long as they pull their weight in the camp and help out. So we get to work straight away by going to find a knife for Addie, and then Deacon proceeds to meet with O'Brien again, who says that he's still finding out information about Sarah, but in return we have to do something for him, and pretty much all these missions are the same, you just have to eavesdrop on the neuroscientists. Also, we find out that Lisa ran away from the Lost Lake camp as well, so clearly she just doesn't like living at the camps. Skizzo then tasks us with riding into Ripper territory, which goes against Iron Mike's treaty with the Rippers, but the reason why is there is a plane crash which has medical supplies on it which will help Boozer out. And at the crash site, I had my first encounter with a Breaker, which is a massive souped up freaker, and I had a little boss fight against him. And in the end, I actually took him out pretty easily despite getting knocked around a few times. Deacon then rides all the way back to the Lost Lake camp, and here they have to cut off Boozer's right arm as the infection is too bad and it will just kill him, so they have to cut his arm off. Then Iron Mike confronts us and says to us that the Ripper's treaty has now been broken and things could go bad. To somewhat make it up to Iron Mike, Deacon shows him where this horde is, where Deacon reveals that they all go hide in the caves, and his idea is to blow up the entrances so the horde gets stuck in there and there's less freakers for them to worry about. But in order to blow the caves up, they need some dynamite, so they will go and find a map to find where other caves are which might have dynamite in them. I then headed back to check up on Boozer. Turns out he's doing alright, he's just missing an arm now, and this unlocked me a trophy. Brothers in Arm, check up on Boozer. I then went on to complete some more side missions and activities where I unlocked my 15th skill point and then spent it to get the trophy I'm Out of Control for unlocking 15 skills. I then went out on a mission to help Ricky get the power back to the Lost Lake camp as the nearby water dam had been overrun by some infected. Turns out one of the power lines is still broken on the way back to the camp, but they don't have the tools for it right now, so they will do it later on. Then, whilst completing a side mission, I actually ended up getting the trophy DIY Oregonian for crafting 50 items. Then continued on completing more side missions and side activities around the area until I eventually unlocked the trophy Welcome to the Party Power for clearing all ambush camps, infestations and Nero checkpoints in a single region of the map. After that, I then found my first Breaker in the wild, and I remembered there was a trophy for killing one only using your knife, which is the weakest weapon, melee weapon in the game, so it took me quite a while. And so after like 5 minutes of just purely slashing him with my knife, eventually I got him down and got the trophy. This is a knife for killing a Breaker, Reacher or Rager with just a knife. To finding some TNT, Deacon and Skizzo go on a mission to a nearby cave in order to get some, and after a run-in with some freakers, the two make it out of the cave alive with the TNT. Deacon then has to go save Boozer after he's gotten himself all drunk and depressed because he doesn't have an arm now, so we have to go save him before he gets himself killed. After doing lots of the main missions and side missions here at the Lost Lake camp, I accumulated quite a few credits and got the trophy Make It Rain for spending 20,000 credits at one encampment. In order to cheer Boozer up, Deacon ends up getting Ricky to make him a prosthetic blade so that he can defend himself a lot easier, which seems a bit dangerous, not gonna lie. After doing quite a few spy missions for O'Brien, he finally agrees to meet with us after he's found out more information about Sarah, and it turns out that the camp that they got diverted to also got overrun as well, so again, she's assumed dead. After that, while exploring the open world, the next trophy I got was for saving 10 survivors, so you can find these random encounters throughout the open world, and you pretty much just save the survivors from some of the zombies and then send them to a nearby camp, and you just got to do that 10 times and you get the trophy. After all that, Ricky and Deacon finally head back to fix up the power pole, which allows the camp to turn all the lights on, making all the survivors super happy and everyone respecting Deacon now. But we also have to cheer up Boozer some more, so we go out and rescue him a dog that he can look after, making him super happy as well. Back to finding a way to blow up the caves, Skizzo and Deacon head into Ripper territory once again, this time to get some detonator cords in one of the warehouses there. The two end up finding the det cords, but in the end, Skizzo ends up betraying Deacon as he made a deal with Carlos, the leader of the Rippers, to hand him over to them. So Deacon is captured and tortured by Carlos, as it turns out that his real name is Jesse and he used to be in the same biker gang as Deacon before the apocalypse, and they actually burnt his back because he betrayed the biker club and pretty much disowned him. And so now Carlos wants his revenge on both Deacon and Boozer, so now they're going after Boozer to bring him back as well. So luckily Carlos leaves, but it turns out Lisa is now with the Rippers, but she actually ends up freeing us and saving us from further torture. So now that Deacon is free, he must make his escape back to the Lost Lake camp in order to warn them and save Boozer. As he's making his escape, he also saves Lisa back in return, as one of the Rippers found out about her and was going to kill her, and so he saves her and tells her to run away, to be free and just live by herself, because she works better that way. And so finally, once I made my way back to my bike, I got the trophy Take Back Your Name for returning the favor. And so from there, Deacon rushes back to the camp, where it is revealed that Skizzo did what he did to try and restore the treaty that Deacon broke for crossing into Ripper's territory earlier, and they were going to hand over Boozer as well. So Iron Mike, Carlos and Skizzo are all here trying to figure something out. Luckily, Iron Mike sticks up for both Deacon and Boozer and saves them from Carlos and tells him to get the hell out of here. And someone finally punches Skizzo right in his stupid face, and he gets sent to the lockup. Then, whilst completing the next mission, I got this trophy, Farewell Drift, for accumulating 10 minutes of drifting while on your bike. But this is finally where Boozer and Deacon get their revenge. They get the det cords and the TNT and head to a nearby dam in the Ripper territory in order to blow up the dam and flood the whole Ripper's camp. And so after that, the two of them head inside to confront Carlos, and Deacon ends up killing him after a boss fight. Deacon then heads back to Iron Mike, who reveals that he is a bit disappointed that we killed them, but understands, and also reveals that he let go of Skizzo, which makes Deacon pretty mad as he wanted to kill him as well. After that, Deacon then has a flashback, which reveals that Sarah used to work at a government lab, which jogs Deacon's memory that she does have federal clearance, and the ones that got evacuated from the camp were the ones that were important and had federal clearance, so she could still be alive. So Deacon contacts O'Brien, and after he did some research, he reveals that she did get on the helicopter to go somewhere else, which is down south, but unfortunately there is a local militia group that has taken over there, so Deacon has to be very careful when he goes there. Unfortunately, the road south has been blocked off, but luckily Iron Mike knows a way over the Tilson Pass to get down south, and he agrees that he will take Deacon there as long as he never comes back to the camp. And so Deacon says his goodbyes to Boozer, Ricky and Addy, and so Iron Mike leads him to the pass and lets him go on his own from there. And once I made it over the pass, I got the trophy Riding Nomad for taking to the road alone. Straight away, Deacon takes on an infected bear called a Rager and saves some of the local militia from it. For saving them, they agree to take Deacon back to the Captain Kuri in order to initiate him in the militia group. After helping Kuri with a few things, he agrees to take Deacon back to the main base of operations of the militia, where he meets with Colonel Garrett, the true leader of the militia, and he initiates Deacon into the militia himself. From there, he takes Deacon on a tour of the rest of the camp until eventually they get to one of the scientists or researchers, and it turns out to be Sarah, who is alive after all this time.
No, you're dead.
So of course they clearly are very happy to see each other, but I'm very happy to see the trophy hold on tight for seeing a familiar face. After that I then went and took on another ambush camp and ended up getting a trophy, Ghost of Farewell, for getting 100 stealth kills. I then continued exploring the new area and got this trophy, Performance Enhance, for maxing out either your health, stamina or focus after finding this Nero research site to get another injector. Continuing to do side activities, I found this historical marker which unlocked me the trophy Wannabe Fortune Hunter for unlocking over 50% of the collectibles. From there on, it's pretty much just doing a couple of collection jobs for some of the lieutenants around the camp. So this guy here, Weaver, he's trying to come up with a weapon to kill the freaks easier, whereas Sarah is trying to come up with a chemical weapon to take out the freaks. But this guy, Weaver, he ends up making a napalm Molotov, which is a very strong version of a normal Molotov. Whilst completing more side activities, I leveled up and got the trophy There's No Stopping Me for unlocking 30 skills. The next mission involves Sarah and Deacon going on a supply run together to get a centrifuge, which will help Sarah with her research to make a bioweapon. They go to a nearby university, and this pretty much just acts as a way to show the developing relationship once again now that they know they're both alive. Then they go on another supply run after that, where they head back over into Ripper territory and they head to Sarah's old research lab in order to find some more equipment for her to use. It turns out that the place had been up and running this whole time, being self-sufficient with power and food, as the security guard that worked here killed everyone and took it over for himself and a couple of his friends. Of course, Sarah gets her revenge on him, and then they go inside the lab, and Sarah ends up piecing it all together that in this lab some of the other scientists were working on a virus, and it ended up getting out, and that is actually what caused the infection in the first place, so Sarah feels partly responsible for not stopping them. Deacon then radios in Boozer, letting him know that there's a lot of food source here and they can use it for the camp, and also lets him know that Sarah is alive. On their way back to the militia camp though, things start to get dark, so they stop at a nearby cabin to keep warm and stay the night, and you can imagine what happens next. And by completing this mission, I got the trophy It's Getting Cold Outside for reconnecting with what you lost. After that, I tried to do some more side activities by getting this Nero checkpoint, but I ended up getting attacked by a horde. Whilst killing them, I managed to get the trophy Lend Me Your Ears for collecting 989 Freaker ears. And luckily it wasn't a very big horde, as I managed to take it down and got the trophy One Down for defeating my first horde. Continue on with the story, Deacon brings back a newt for Sarah. She ends up using her formula on it, which ends up killing it pretty quickly, but it turns out that she isn't trying to do that, she's actually trying to make a cure for the freakers, not just kill them quickly. Deacon ends up agreeing with her and giving her a little pep talk to keep on trying and they can figure it out, so he hatches a plan with her to head back to the Cloverdale research facility where they'll have better equipment for her to try and come up with a cure, but first they've got to escape the militia. Unfortunately, before he can do that, he is tasked with helping Weaver and Curie test out the new napalm Molotov on taking out a horde. So funnily enough, I just killed my first horde earlier, but I would have got that trophy here anyway, as this is part of the main story and you have to take out this horde, which is a lot bigger than the other one I took out. And hordes are very annoying because you got to have the right explosives and resources to take them out, or else you're just going to get killed instantly because they swarm you from everywhere. And yeah, you run out of materials pretty quickly, so if you don't have the right Molotovs or grenades, they'll kill you. So eventually I did end up killing the horde, and so we returned back to the camp successful. However, Colonel Garrett has moved Sarah to a safer place as he doesn't want to lose any more of his personnel, as earlier, I forgot to mention, there was the doctor of the camp actually got killed, so now he's super paranoid about any of his scientists dying. Of course, this puts a spanner in the works for them trying to escape their militia. So from there, I did a few more collection missions and a few of the side activities, and here I actually defeated my final Marauder camp, unlocking me this trophy for completing its storyline. I then went on to complete another side activity, which was for burning the rest of the infested nests, which unlocked me the trophy Infestation Exterminator for completing its storyline. Continuing on with the story, Deacon asks O'Brien for help to get him and Sarah out of the militia camp, but in return he has to help O'Brien first, of course. And of course this involves helping him track down what happened to one of the research teams in one of the caves, and it turns out there is a new type of a freaker that has evolved that is called a Reacher, and they're super fast and super strong. So after taking it down though, Deacon takes a sample of it back to O'Brien, who agrees to use the chopper to get Deacon and Sarah out of the camp. So now that Deacon has organised a lift out of there, him and Sarah sneak up through the caves at the camp, where they make it to the top of the rock where they're going to be lifted out by O'Brien and his helicopter. Turns out Colonel Garrett is up here showing some of the new recruits a tour of the island, and one of the new recruits ends up being good old Schizo, who instantly recognizes Deacon, and then all hell breaks loose. O'Brien and the helicopter fly over, realize they're in trouble, and just fly off again. So Schizo ends up gaining the trust of Garrett by revealing what Deacon has done and how he knows him. And then he is about to kill Sarah, as he thinks that she was the one that called in Nero, the helicopter, but Deacon takes the blame to save her. So Deacon is taken away to be given a fair trial, aka he's going to be hanged. But it turns out that Kuri actually ended up saving us and taking us away from the camp, as he is very impressed and respects Deacon for what he's done to save Sarah, as he's realized that they are obviously together and knew each other. And then he also realized that the colonel had gone crazy, so he didn't want anything to do with him anymore. So Kuri offers Deacon to come with them as they head west in order to start a new life, but Deacon knows that he must save Iron Mike and the Lost Lake camp, as that is where Colonel Garrett is heading for next, due to Schizo telling him about it and him wanting his revenge. Deacon arrives, and it turns out that the camp ended up killing off most of the militia, except Schizo shot Iron Mike and made his escape, so unfortunately Iron Mike dies. And by completing this mission, I got the trophy Mariah Invictus for riding out to take back what's yours. After that, Deacon, Boozer, and Ricky come up with a plan to turn this truck into a moving bomb that they are going to throw right at the gates of the militia. So Deacon heads off to a nearby area to get some fertilizer that will be used in making the bomb, where he has to clear out another horde at this area, which is massive as well. Whilst I was taking out the final few stragglers, I got the trophy Old Reliable for killing 200 enemies with a crafted melee weapon. Then tasked with taking out some nearby militia camps that had been set up near Lost Lake, and from this I got the trophy Best Friends Forever for receiving the Allied Trust status with an encampment, which is the level 3 trust status that I mentioned earlier, and I got this with the Lost Lake camp. Then had to clear another massive horde at the nearby sawmill to get some more supplies to make the bomb, and so we were ready to take our attack to the militia. Unfortunately, Boozer ends up driving the truck straight into the gate, blowing it up successfully, but also sacrificing himself in the process. Is that meant to be Boozer, man? I hope not. But even with Boozer dead, we must continue on with the attack. We can see Ricky and the fellow Lost Lake survivors attacking from the southern gate as we make our way to the top of the rock to get inside. I take out some enemies on the way down. Also get to save Weaver from Schizo as well. Take out some more enemies until you catch up to Schizo, who blows up some barrels, and this I guess counts as a boss fight, but it's kind of like an Uncharted boss fight, because all you gotta do is just roll to safety until eventually you can get close enough and use your knife on Schizo. There's the quickest QuickTime event of all time, where you just spam square for a few seconds and then you stab Schizo in the stomach and finally get rid of him for good. And by doing this, I got the trophy I've been waiting for this. Take revenge once and for all. From there, Deacon goes to confront the Colonel and save Sarah, but he's got her at gunpoint. Luckily, Sarah thinks on her feet and actually spikes the T. And so before things can go really bad, he ends up dying because of it. And then in a big reveal, Boozer is still alive and somehow managed to jump out just in time before the truck exploded, so thankfully he is not dead. And him and Sarah have a nice reunion as it's the first time they've seen each other as well. And from there, everyone pretty much lives happily ever after. Deacon becomes the somewhat leader of everyone there, with the help of Ricky and Sarah as well, obviously. And yeah, it's pretty much just a happy ending. Then finally, after like 5 minutes of cutscenes, I was able to skip the rest of them and I got my trophy Days done for completing the story of Days Gone. It was now time for stage 2, which is to do the cleanup. But surprisingly, there were actually quite a few main story cutscenes after the game, acting as epilogues just to tie off some loose ends. Like this one here, Deacon was getting his wedding ring and other rings back as they were confiscated by the militia when he first joined. But actually, before getting any more of the cutscenes, I got this trophy, You've Got Red on You, for collecting 541 items from corpses, and this is why I was looting every single enemy I could throughout the game. I then also did the final side activity involving finding the Nero checkpoints and Nero sites and the injectors, and I got the trophy World's End for completing its storyline. Straight after that, I then went on to complete my final ambush camp, unlocking me this trophy as well. I then got this little neat cutscene showing off Addie, Ricky and Deacon paying their respects at Iron Mike's grave. After that, I then went for the trophy that involved using the crossbow. There's 5 different types of bolts you could craft with the crossbow. This includes the regular crossbow bolt, a residue bolt, a poison bolt, an incendiary bolt, and an explosive bolt. And you just have to kill an enemy with each type, and the final one I had to do was an explosive bolt, unlocking me the trophy Variety is the Spice of Life. I then got this cutscene here showing that Lisa had pretty much gone off her own and was using camps to sell her bounties to make credits and survive that way on her own, which was pretty cool to see. From there, I was aiming to get the trophy to drift and boot Nitro at the same time for 5 seconds. However, to do this you have to fully max out your Nitro. But the only place you can do that at is the Diamond Lake camp, and you have to have level 3 trust in order to actually unlock the ability to get the upgrade for Nitro 3. And because I had completed all the side activities and main missions that were involved with the Diamond Lake camp, the only other way to increase the trust was to take out some of the hordes nearby. So I pretty much had to go on a horde killing rampage in order to boost my trust enough so then I could purchase the Nitro 3. Once I had purchased it, I made sure I found a nice open spot, held boost and drift at the same time, and finally got the trophy. Next trophy up was to apply 100 scrap to fix my bike, and luckily I'd been doing this mostly throughout the rest of the game, so I only had like 10 more scrap to use, and so all I did was just drive really fast into this car here so it destroyed my bike, and then I just used scrap to fix it, and I got the Art of Bike Repair. The next trophy I went for was for knocking over 12 Anarchist cans. The Anarchists are a faction in this game, and yeah, for some reason you had to kick over 12 of their cans. They have a base where there's like 10 of them, which I don't have footage of, but that's where I did most of them. And for some reason, yeah, this is very similar to Uncharted 4. There was a trophy like this as well. After that, I then finally got the last main cutscene in the game, and this is kind of a secret ending, as O'Brien finally contacts you after a while to meet up with him again. He's been warning you the whole game about how the freaks have been evolving, and he himself reveals that he is a freak and he has been infected, yet he still has the functions of a human, so he's like a super freak. And this sets the second game up so well, but unfortunately I don't think they're ever gonna make a sequel to this game, which really sucks, as this game was so much fun.
What the? Bro, Mans is like a superhuman or something.
Yeah, that's my reaction. What the fuck? Next trophy I was going for was for finding 75% of the collectibles. Most of them you can find in and around the camps, and while I was looking for some of them, I found this in Schizo's room. Turns out he was a bit of a perv, which is pretty funny, so that makes him even more punchable. But honestly, I'd say for most of the collectibles, they were pretty easy to find. You get some of them just during the main story, and also you see some on the map as well, the historical markers. And then for the final few, I just used a guide until eventually I had 181 collectibles, which is enough for the 75%. From there, I completed a few more hordes to get my trust level up with the wizard camp, and then all I had to do was get one more XP, so I sold one Swarmer ear and got it. Best friends forever for life for gaining the allied trust with 3 different encampments. I then went back out to kill some more hordes in order to get my final XP point by getting to the max level, so then I could spend this final skill point on the final skill to get the final trophy. Mr. Fahrenheit. Unlock 45 skills. 1%er. Go above and beyond. Unlock every trophy in Days Gone. However, I may have gotten the platinum, but I still had to get the 100% as well, so it was now time to move on to stage 3, which was completing the challenge mode. There are 12 challenges in total, and these consist of horde challenges, bike challenges, and combat challenges. Each challenge has 4 sub-challenges as well, and there are bronze, silver, and gold medals to be earned on each challenge by either getting a higher score or quicker time. Once a challenge has been selected, you can change your character, so you can play as many different characters. You can also change the look of your bike, and then you can also equip rings which give bonuses to your playstyle, and then the patches are earned by getting bronze, silver, and gold medals on their corresponding challenges, with gold giving you the biggest boost. And the cool thing is that these patches, the bonuses they give you, actually carry across into the main game, so I could use these for when I do my New Game Plus. And so my first step was pretty much to get a bronze medal on every single challenge. On my first horde challenge, I failed miserably as I died fairly early on, but I was enough to get a bronze medal, getting me a participation award. I then went on to do the next challenge, which was a combat challenge, and I did far better in this one, netting myself a silver medal, getting the trophy second the best. After getting that silver medal though, I realized how tough these challenges actually were going to be, so I made a decision that I was going to go for all the gold medals, as then it would give me bonuses through the patches, so it would make the other levels easier. And I had to get gold in all of them anyway, so I thought, why not just go for gold straight away? And so I ended up searching up online for the best ways to do these, and shout out to Borislav247. He makes some really awesome guides on how to beat these challenges, which helped pretty much were the reason why I ended up getting gold on all of these challenges. So for example, this challenge here, you had to take out all the enemies in this base as quickly as you could, whilst trying to be somewhat stealthy and filling out some of the other sub-challenges, which were like using residue bolts to turn them on each other, and then also using crafted weapons to kill them as well. And as long as you got it filled up, some of those sub-challenges to silver or gold, you would most likely get the gold medal overall. So I needed to complete this in under 3 minutes 30, and this happened.
Come on!
Oh my god, I was literally point...
Oh, you were like a millisecond.
If you get it under 330, you get 10,000. I only got 5,000. Oh, that's so annoying, bro. Luckily, on my very next attempt, I did it a lot more efficient and quicker and got it in about 3 minutes, which unlocked me the trophy Golden Boy for earning my first gold medal. And also at the same time, because I was wearing another skin, I got this trophy, I Make This Look Good, for earning a gold medal with a character skin and custom accent on your bike equipped. Using Borislav's guide for the next challenge, I was able to find the best places to bunch the freakers up and use explosives and bullet penetration to kill loads of them to get a crazy multiplier to get the score all the way up to gold, getting my second gold medal. This next challenge was a bike one, and these were very hard as you had to keep your multiplier going the whole time by getting air time and drifting, and as soon as you lost your multiplier, you pretty much had no chance of beating that challenge. And as you can see, I literally missed the checkpoint. If I had just got the ramp, I would have hit the checkpoint, kept my multiplier going, and I probably would have finished and got a gold medal, but I had to go back and keep trying this one over and over. After quite a few failed attempts to keep my multiplier alive, eventually I got this challenge done and got the gold medal. Yes! Yes! Come on! Let's go. I then went back to the challenge that I got silver on earlier to try and get gold, and this was probably the easiest challenge. All you had to do was survive waves of enemies, and they never got too hard, and so I ended up getting this gold one. This is probably the easiest one. This next challenge was another bike challenge, and this was kind of similar. You had to make sure that you hit all of the different ramps and drifted a lot and did it in the quickest time possible, but unfortunately things like this could happen. No, I fell off. I'm done. I fell off my bike at the end of the race when I was about to complete it. A few runs later though, I was able to do it pretty flawlessly. Let's go, gold baby. Let's go. Come on. Next up was another horde challenge, and honestly these ones were not too bad, especially using Borislav's tips and tricks and knowing where to lead the zombies to. I was able to get another gold medal. Next up was the Golf Buggy Uber Challenge. So this one you had to pick up survivors and get them to their destination as quick as possible whilst drifting and hitting a few freakers on the way to get the sub challenges done. And pretty much I was following Borislav's guide at the same time while doing this. That's why I was pausing the game, because I was just seeing where he would go next and then I would just copy, and I got the gold medal on my first attempt. Next up was another horde challenge, but this time the twist was that you had to also burn some infestation zones and keep the zombies in that area and killing them to get the best multiplier possible. And once again, using Borislav's techniques and guidance, I was able to get the zombies in the right spots in order to get my multiplier going as much as possible and getting the highest score, and in no time I had a gold. After doing this, I also got the trophy Lost and Damned for reaching the founder rank, and you're pretty much going to get this if you go for all the gold challenges anyway. Also after that, with all the credits I had earned from completing the challenges, I fully upgraded my first ring. Same thing once again with this challenge. It was another horde one, and following Borislav's guide, this one could be done pretty quickly as well by using all the environmental things to kill the freakers as quickly as possible. And so in about a minute and a half I got my gold medal. Next up was another bike challenge, and honestly these bike challenges were probably the hardest compared to the horde and combat challenges. And this one I struggled through it at first, and then finally realized that one of the sub challenges was that you couldn't brake or let go of the accelerator. You had to hold the accelerator down the whole time in order to get gold on the sub challenge. So after I figured that out, I was pretty much alright, and following Borislav's tips, he said to just keep grinding out this jump over and over again to get your score and multiplier up and complete some of the airtime and boost sub challenges. And after doing this for a while, then all I had to do was finish off this challenge and I got a gold. Using some more of the credits that I had earned, I continued upgrading the rings until eventually I got the trophy $dollar bills, y'all, for spending 3,000 credits on your loadout. Back to the horde challenges again, using Borislav's tips. This one was pretty simple as well. You just had to survive 5 waves of these zombies and survive until morning, and just while keeping your multiplier going, and you just had to set them up until eventually you could run upstairs and they've got like a minigun, and you just kill them as they run up the stairs and you get heaps of points and get a gold easily. The 12th and final challenge, I ended up getting silver on one of my first attempts, which got me the trophy Gotta Patch 'em All for unlocking all patches. So you didn't have to get gold on every challenge, you just have to get at least bronze and you get the patch. Of course though, I had to get gold on all the challenges anyway, and honestly this was probably one of the hardest horde challenges. It was fairly quick to do, but you just had to get your route perfect or else you would get easily swarmed by the swarmers. And so pretty much after trial and error and using Borislav's tips, I got the 12th and final gold medal. And so I let the freakers kill me so I could pop my trophy gold team rules for earning a gold medal in all challenges. However, I was still not quite yet done with the challenge mode, as I actually had to complete all of these sub challenges as well, and a few of them I hadn't completed because for some of the gold medals you actually don't have to get all of the sub challenges. Luckily for the sub challenges, you don't have to get gold on the sub challenges, you only need to get bronze on all the sub challenges, or else that would have made it really hard. So for example, this map I just had to get a certain amount of stealth kills. This challenge I had to get a certain amount of headshots. This next challenge I had to get a certain amount of explosive kills, and along with a certain amount of kills inside houses. This next one was for getting kills using the environment. And then finally, this next one, I had to open a certain amount of surprise boxes, and these are essentially the same as a mystery box in COD, as this map is trying to be like a COD Zombies map where you can buy weapons off the wall. Anyway, by doing this final sub challenge that I hadn't done, I ended up getting the trophy for earning all sub medal challenges. Quick little fun fact, but these 4 trophies were actually my first ultra rare trophies that I have ever earned on PSN profiles. So finally, with that done, I had 100% completed the challenge mode DLC pack, and it was time to move on to stage 4, which was for New Game Plus. When starting up the New Game Plus, I had to make sure that I set the difficulty to Survival 2, as one of the trophies in the DLC Pack 1 was to beat the game in Survival mode, and in the third DLC trophy pack, New Game Plus, I had to complete the story of Days Gone in New Game Plus, and also on either Hard 2 or Survival 2 New Game Plus. Luckily on Survival 2 it also stacks with the Survival one in the previous DLC pack, so hopefully I would get these 3 trophies at the end of the playthrough. Loading up into New Game Plus, I was gifted this new weapon BND 150, which is only found in New Game Plus, and it essentially is the crossbow, but instead is a sniper rifle that shoots out special darts. And just like the crossbow, there is a trophy related to killing an enemy with every type of ammo using the mysterious weapon. And so a couple of main missions later, I managed to get that exact trophy. Apparently the reason why it's called Logan's Shadow is that it's actually a reference to Siphon Filter, which was also made by Bend Studio, who made Days Gone. Shortly after that, I tackled the only other miscellaneous trophy now left to do, which was to beat a horde in under 1 minute in survival mode. So I actually went back to the spot where I found my first horde originally in my first playthrough, and I got them cornered in this narrow gap here where I was able to place some proximity mines and throw some molotovs, and I was able to take them out fairly quickly and got the trophy. From there, it was pretty much smooth sailing, as I had all of the best guns in the game from my first playthrough, plus all the patches that I earned during challenge mode, which goes across into the main game, made it pretty easy despite being on survival difficulty. And also on Survival 2, it got rid of your HUD and UI and things like that. But it was still pretty easy to keep track of my health, as I could bring up my survival mode, which showed the minimap and health in the bottom right and left. The only trouble I had was this final shootout in the final mission. It gave me Uncharted flashbacks, with the enemies constantly throwing grenades to get you out of cover, and then a guy with a minigun absolutely unleashing hell upon you.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
So I actually died quite a few times, but honestly, this is nowhere near as bad as Uncharted, so after a couple of attempts and just being better at the game, I managed to do it. And so after wading through all the credits, once again, I got my final trophies. Surviving is Living for completing the story of Days Gone in survival mode, One More Ride for completing the story of Days Gone in New Game Plus, and finally, 2 Days, 2 Done for completing the story of Days Gone on Survival 2 in New Game Plus. And so with that done, I had officially 100%ed Days Gone and its DLCs, including Survival Mode, Challenge Mode, and New Game Plus. I would highly recommend that you guys play this game. It is so underrated, but still such a very good game. Definitely go for the Platinum, it's pretty simple. 100%, it's a bit more challenging, especially because of Challenge Mode. So if you don't want to go for that, I don't blame you. But I still enjoyed the 100% quite a lot. So with that said and done, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit that like and subscribe button if you want to see more content like this, and get prepared for the next video as I 100%ed my hardest game yet, Sifu.
Oh, I strike him, go!
Oh god. Oh god.